This is Straight Talk with Atlanta native Greg Penn, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shannon Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fan, the Preacher Man.
Well, welcome again today to another edition of Straight Talk with your two great fans, the Preacher Man and Shannon E. Jones. Hey, Shannon.
How you doing, Bishop?
Shannon, I'm doing tolerably well, as old folks will say. Tolerably well. You know, last week's program, we got a lot of comments about the program that we did last week on white nationalism in terms of Christianity and them using the Bible as a way of justifying that they're superior, the white men are superior race over all people. People
So says the Bible.
So said the Bible. But people were saying to me, "What? Can you tell me where that's in the Bible?"
I need to.
I said, I couldn't find it. I never find it. I thought God created man in His image and His likeness, and all man came from God. You know, unlike some people say we came from apes, but there's no evidence that we came from apes. I mean,
But it did say something there about his skin was like grass burned in the oven. His hair was like lamb's wool.
They did say that.
He said he had that deep voice,
Oh.
deep black man voice. What you talking about, Willis? That we did. That description is in the Bible.
That's in the Bible.
That's in the Bible.
That's in the Bible. That's in the Bible. But anyway, we got a lot of comments on that, and I thank those of you sending in comments, and thank you for your comments, and thank you, for telling us when we even see you that you watch Straight Talk. We appreciate it for those of you who do watch.
Thank you, Straight Talk watchers.
All right, watchers of Straight Talk. Man, the forum the other night. Let's talk a little bit about the forum the other night over at East Point that you host, that you moderated, and let's talk about that a little bit. Because people have called me and asked me what did I think about it, feel about it. And I said, well, first of all, we, the Southfield Ministry Alliance, which I am the president of, and Voter Empowerment Collaborative, which was founded by the late Reverend Albany Love, that I'm now the president of that organization. We host
the organization, like you're the president of, you're the bishop, president of this, president of that.
Well, I will tell
In a
you
household.
this. I will tell you this. At one time, honestly, really at one time, when I was with the union, I was the president of the union, I was president of this, I was president of that, pastor of the church.
You remind me of that kid used to take his ball and go home.
Oh, no. I never took my ball and went home. I've always stayed in the fight. All right,
that's
but I want to talk a little bit about that, though, the forum, a little bit about it. We had 4 candidates there. Ms. Barbara Nevels, who is the president of the Jefferson Park Homeowners Association. We had Ms. Josette Bailey, who was all of these are first-time candidates, who was a first-time candidate, a former administrator in education, graduate of Fairmont College. We had Mr. Nevels, Rocourt, who is really a newly resident to the city of East Point, only been there for
a year,
he says.
And it's just like the qualifying time, you have to be at least a year.
A year. So much that they thought it was 18 months, but I told them, no, you only have to be a resident of any community, 18 years, 1 year, and you have to be at least 21 years of age to run for public office. And so then we had Mr. Joel Presley, who is an East Point resident for 5 years and an Atlanta firefighter inspector for the Atlanta Fire Department. So we had Ms. Joanne, who is the president of the East Washington Homeowners Association. We had Mr. Joe Roberts, who is the president of the River Park Homeowners Association, and Mr. Will Miller, who is a resident of Jefferson Park and also a member of the East Point Planning and Zoning, which I am a member of also too. And so we had a large number of people show up.
A lot of elected officials too.
A lot of elected officials. We had the mayor, Mayor Dean Holiday was there.
Former elected officials.
Where we had also, former Ward B at large, Councilwoman Pat Langford was there. We had,
Eddie Lee Brewster.
And Eddie Lee Brewster, former Ward D, councilwoman there. We had, Sharon Shropshire, who's the president councilwoman for Ward A citywide. We had Karen Renee, who is the councilperson for Ward B citywide there. And we had Mr. Joshua Butler, who is the councilman for citywide for Ward D. They were there, and numerous residents that were there to hear what the candidates had to say. We host these forums to give people an opportunity to hear what the candidates have to say, and whether or not are these the kind of people that you would want to really represent you. Because what's happening is that people fail to realize that when people run for office, they're asking you to hire them to represent you. Basically, that's what you're saying. When your vote is, you're hiring them to represent you. So if somebody, when we have these forums, you need to come to forums and things like that to see if these are the kind of people you want to hire that go to work for you, to represent
Just
you.
what you want. And you know what, I also like the fact that we focus on cities like East Point, smaller cities, everything. Everybody focuses on Atlanta, but there's a metropolitan area that, and what affects East Point will eventually affect Atlanta, South Fulton, College Park. So it's good that we can deal with the senators and all those on the federal level. We can come all the way down and deal with who's running for office in smaller cities and important cities as well, in the metropolitan area.
And the reason I want to talk about this is because, a lot of emphasis, as you just said, is on the senator, the governor, and even there's no real emphasis on the attorney general, which that's an important position, very important position. That's the prosecutor for the state, right? There's no real emphasis on even the representatives that are running that set public policy and approve large budget monies that will go back to citizens for services through the state, right? And we're not looking at who are these people that are running in these positions and what are their thoughts about what is it that the people need, because they're the ones that's allocating you or a tax dollar, right? And I think that many times those officers go unwatched or held accountable, right? Unnoticed, right? So held accountable for what they're doing up there under the demon dome, because that's what I call it, the demon dome. A lot of evil people down there doing evil things to good people. And can the church say amen? Amen. So we understand politics, and many ministers don't want to get involved in politics. They don't want separation of church and state. But there is a separation of church and state. But the reality of it is that you live in the state, you live in the city, you live in the county, and you need to know who is going to be representing your interests in those political positions, because it's your interest. And someone said something the other night that I thought, and I can't remember which candidate it was, it says, hold us accountable. Hold us accountable. If I should win, hold me accountable. If the others should win, hold them accountable. Hold elected officials, because they work for you.
Mr. Roe Court said that.
Mr. Roe Court
said we should support whoever wins.
Right. But you got to hold them accountable, because that's what happens is that when we put people in the office, we don't hold them accountable in terms of what they are doing. And then people say, well, we can't hold them accountable until the next election. Well, that's not really true. That's not really true. It sounds true, but it's not. You can hold them accountable by bringing up things that they're not doing and having the public to be informed of what they're not doing. We're not going to agree with everything they do. I've been elected, so people agree with everything I did. Because a lot of things you don't understand because you don't have all the information that elected officials have. But at least they should be able to talk to you about why they voted the way they voted and what they're doing to make your life and your family life better, because they are now in the position that you hired them to do.
Right. And if you don't see the power to them, because the elected official is a representative of you, and they are gonna have some information, but a lot of times, they don't have to have far more information than you if you stay connected, if you are showing up at the public meetings, if you are visiting them at their office, if you are sending in letters to them, if you are staying connected to the process. But what happens many times is we end up ceding the power. We elect you, and then that's the thinking. Well, we can't do anything until 4 years from now. No, they're gonna have a meeting next week. you know,
right.
And there's a place on that meeting. There's a place there for you to speak.
Oh, public comment.
It's called public comment. And then there is a district office, and an office that's in your district that you're supposed to visit, or go to City Hall, or go to, County Commission, go wherever. But there's places where you're supposed to engage. If I'm representing you and you never tell me anything, you never speak to me, I have town halls, you don't come to them, well then you are telling me to go off and do, I'm under my own, pretty much do what I want to do, because the people whom I'm trying to connect with that I'm representing are not engaged in the process. And we're going to talk a little bit about some more stuff going later, so I'm going to say some comments.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one is, with that, Shannon, because, we're talking straight talk. This is straight talk. And a lot of things people don't understand the power of the offices that people are elected to. What does that job mean? If you are a city councilman, what sphere of influence that you have, what can you do, what you cannot do? And many people running for office don't even understand because they haven't read the charter. And they fully don't understand what their role is, because they think they can do what they want to do, because they get up there and they say, well, once I'm elected, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Well, you're one of many, depending on the size of the body, you're just one vote. And in that process, you're not the person that says and dictates what it is that you're going to do, because you can only do what you have the majority of your fellow council people, or state representatives, or congressional people, or people who are in positions that you're part of the deliberative body. You're not a part of the executive branch, So that's what he cut the rubber, and people need to understand. Just because you call your council person and say, well, I need for you to do this. Well, they have to call the city manager and say to the city manager, hey, listen, I got a call from a constituent, there's some concern from a constituent about this, or I call the city manager, there's a concern about trash over here. And the city manager, that's the city manager's job in a small form of government, is to address that by calling the director of that department to say that the director, who is responsible for the employees, they dictate to the employees that I need you to address this issue. But it's not the council person's job, because the council person is only in that role as a policy maker. They only set policy, and the county city manager is to carry out that policy that the council or mayor council has established. So they're not the executives. They don't run the city. Many people think, well, the council runs the city. No, they don't run the city. I have staff that do that. But you have to understand the role. They're the policy makers, and they make decisions about budget, how much money will be allocated to each department to perform the mission that they are now been designated to perform based on what those requirements are coming from the citizens. If citizens say we need more parks, then they vote on our budget in terms of creating another park, buying land for another park. They do that. But they don't go out and say, the park gonna go here, the park gonna go there. Staff go out and find the land, and then come and say, hey, these are the choices of land that we can buy. Then they vote on that.
Right.
But they don't go out and find the land. That's staff's job. That's staff's responsibility. They don't do that. So I think people need to know the role of elected officials, and what elected officials can and cannot do when you elect them and the power of elected officials. But we'll be back on the other side. We got more politics to talk right here on Straight Talk. So you stay right there. I'm going nowhere. You're gonna have Miss C. You know, Miss C gonna do her thing. She's gonna make her news and announcements. If you have news and announcement information, please send it to Miss C to Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast. Hey, Greg. Hey, Shannon. Hope you all are doing well. Listen, I got a lot of news for you here. A women's prayer breakfast will be held Saturday, October 15th from 9:30 till noon at Turner Chapel AME Church, 492 North Marietta Parkway in Marietta. The breakfast is free, but advanced registration is required, and you can register by going to their website at www.turnerchapelame.org. Pastor Phoenicia Seibert is guest speaker. My good friend, Reverend Leela Waller, is the Women's Day leader. Pastor Taryue R.A. Bright Sr. is the servant leader. This is a women's only event. The Booker T. Washington High School class of 1969 invites you to Lunch and Learn Senior Continuing Education Seminar entitled Trusts and Wills. The guest speaker will be attorney Dion T. Duckett, estate planning and elder law attorney at Duckett Law Office. This will happen October 1st, 2022 at noon at Piccadilly Restaurant at Greenbrier Mall, 2841 Greenbrier Parkway. That's right inside the mall. I haven't been there in a while. I think this will be a very worthwhile seminar to attend because as we age, and even before we reached a certain age, knowing about trusts and wills is a good thing as you plan your estate. Okay, so they said, please join us for this informative event as we continue to prepare for senior living. The Fairburn Fall Festival will happen Saturday, October 1st, going down through the streets of Fairburn, and it's going to begin at 9:30 a.m., led by the Mayor Mario Avery, followed by marching bands, floats, drill teams, clowns, jugglers, celebrity guests, and a whole lot more. That's October 1st. Okay, listen, I have 4 things I'd like for you to do, and I'm going to tell them to you right after I tell you we will be happy to announce your event. Just email it to us at Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. That's Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. We'll be happy to announce your class reunion, your family reunion, whatever you're having. We'll be happy to announce it here. And listen, so now those 4 things I want you to do is I want you to like us. I want you to share us. I want you to subscribe to us, and I want you to leave comments. Okay? And just let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you like about the show, and if there's anything you'd like to see us add, just let us know and send it to us at Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. And we'll see you right back here next time. Okay? Bye.
All right, thank you, Miss C. Great, Miss C. Great.
Always great. Thank you, Miss C.
I tell you that Miss C is something else, ain't she?
She better than you.
Oh, she better than me?
Yeah, she better than you.
Yeah, well, you know what? I trained her. And if the student ain't better than the teacher ain't I trained Miss C. But anyway, let's go back into our conversation and talk. Let's talk more about politics. You know, now, we got this governor's race on, we got this senator race on, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about the races for the U.S. Senate and the governor's race. That's what everybody pretty much focuses on, is Herschel Walker and the Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock and Asa Abram and Mr. Brian Kemp, the present governor. So let me hear your analysis, Bill Nigut. The analysis of the paralysis.
Well, I mean, the math is pretty much showing itself that both Stacey Abrams, Leader Abrams, and Senator Warnock certainly need a very strong turnout from their base in order to move it over. The numbers keep changing with the Senate race, but somehow Herschel Walker seems to be up 2 points, 3 points. There seems to be a lot of excitement on the Republican side. Then we come down to the Stacey Abrams and Governor Kemp race, and seems to be, some energy lacking there. There's an 8-point spread there, and Cox News just keeps hitting Abrams on the black vote and on black men voting, and it's interesting. So 746,000 black men did not vote in the May election in the state of Georgia. And there are a myriad of reasons, maybe that some of them were registered, not registered, whatever. 746,000 did not vote. And so we're starting to see that as an issue. And so tonight there's actually a meeting of black men voting that Labor is putting together. Actually, it's not tonight. I got my calendar together. It was last night that they got together and did that. But that's going to be a very critical to hear, just to sit and listen to the issues that are concerning black men. So yesterday's paper mentioned Leader Abrams introducing her father at an event and saying, and he got a rousing applause. And then she went on to say, I'm not a black man, but I was raised by a black man. And if black men will stand with me, if black men will vote with me, vote for me, then we can have a stronger Georgia. That is a message that is important. The political punditry will let us know if that, and prognosticators will let us know if that was a little too late, because we, again, May is a big May, yet June, July, August. Now you're September going into October, a month before the election, 46 days out. And now there seems to be this focus on black men. And one more critical thing was that they were saying that Leader Abrams has about 79% of the black vote. Statewide, a black candidate needs at least 90% of that voting block in order to win statewide, to be a true, to win statewide, not to contend, but to win. It needs to be 90 plus. And so Kemp is starting to move into double digits. And one last thing, this is my last thing. I said last thing, but one more last thing.
You're preaching.
I have at least three.
Y'all always
I have at least 3 closes.
Yes, Lord.
But this is my final close, and that is that in yesterday's paper, AJC, they talked about the GOP outworking the Democratic Party, and how they're going door to door. And Kemp has said, look, that the Democrats have been basically besting us with their ground game, and so he's saying the Republicans are going to shore up their ground game to be able to make sure that the $300 million they're spending on television also connects with that ground game. And so they're saying that they're going to outwork. And so we're in a real interesting place, but we know that we need to really do something to energize the African American vote. We better do it fast.
Well, let me just move from those 2 candidates now. Let's talk about 2 other statewide races that's important. One is the Secretary of State, B. Wing, Mr. Rauschenberger. I saw a commercial today with Mr. Rauschenberger. So I guess they're going to start spending their money on Mr. Rauschenberger for commercials now.
Who's leading?
Who's leading in that race?
Who's leading in that race?
He is leading in that race.
Sizable.
Yeah, and so there's B. Wing, and that's running against him, won the Democratic nod. So Democrats got a little work to do.
A lot of work.
And then you have Jen Jordan, who's running, state senator, former state senator now, she will be. is running for Attorney General, who is really getting out, knocking on doors, really going out, meeting with people, engaging people. I think she's probably the most, out of all the Democrats that's out there working, I think she's doing probably the most work, getting the most energy in her campaign, Jen Jordan is, because of her work in terms of fighting voter fraud, and early before voter fraud came up, and filing lawsuits on SB 22.
And she connected with the black church pretty early. Too.
And she did. She connected with the black church pretty early, very early. When people say, well, the black church is not relevant anymore, they're not relevant. Well, I would totally disagree with you on that. The black church will always be relevant. It will always be the source of the black community. And it's going to be the place where people go and seek information. It's just who is in that black church and what they're doing in terms of assimilating information and keeping and being a part of the community. See, yeah, we have church buildings in communities, but they're not a part of the community. It's just a building in that community. But there are many black churches that are definitely doing work in their communities and getting out information to people in their community, not just their parish, not just their congregation, but people in the community, period. Because if we look at the pandemic, during the pandemic, how many churches, there was no TV, but still, excuse me, my sinus is trying to rain on, but you have many smaller churches that were feeding people. They were doing it even before the pandemic. So you do have churches that are out there reaching out to the community and grabbing the community. And then you have Mr. Chris Carr, going back to the Attorney General's Virginia, Mr. Chris Carr, he just thinks he's a shoo-in. He hadn't run a commercial or said anything since he won the Republican nod. So they're thinking that we can come on in the finishing line at the end, start running TV commercials, and then people will buy our message, and we'll be able to sweep, Republican sweep, will win the office of the Attorney General, but they ain't reaching out. I've never met Mr. Carter. I have met Ms. Jordan. I have personally, I'm talking about me, I'm very well connected in the political arena, but I haven't met him. Have you?
Met Chris Carter?
Yeah.
I met him.
You met him? You met him during this cycle? Have you talked to you? Have he talked to you?
No, not in the same.
Has he asked for your support?
No, he hasn't.
Okay. I just want to know.
No, he hasn't. When you get the Labor Commission race.
Yeah, we're going to vote. We're going to vote. That's next. That's our next one. We're going to vote. I wanted to deal with the Secretary of State, and I wanted to deal with the Attorney General. So I'll let you go on in the labor race.
Well, you said it, you got William Bodie. And the issue is really the down ticket. It's really paying attention to what's on that, we can't just vote for senator and governor.
Right.
And you also have, we left out the lieutenant governor. You got Charlie Bailey running against Burt Jones.
Burt something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? We don't know these folks. We don't know these folks. I mean, really and truly, see, people are tired.
It's not a Joe Frank Harris day.
No. People are tired of voting for people. That's why they don't go down ballot. They don't know these people.
You don't know you.
And see, and before, people, if you had an I by your name, you could win because you had an I by your name. You were the incumbent. So people just go ahead.
Yeah.
And the same thing is now happening with judge races. You used to be, if you were a judge, you had an I by your name, you were going to win, but judges have lost races recently because the people don't know them. And then the people have started educating people in the community about what these judges are doing sitting on the benches. So people now are more informed. People want more information. They want to know more about these candidates. I don't know Chris Carter. Never met Chris Carter. Under any circumstances. Don't know him. I have met Jen Jordan. I do know William Bodie. I don't even know the person that's running for labor commissioner against Bodie. See, these people talking about, well, because
You gotta be better than Baker though, because that was terrible.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying but these people are saying, I'm a Republican, so I'm not going to talk to to people who I assume that a black person is a Democrat. So I'm not going to talk to black people. I want to engage black people because they all Democrats. Well, everybody's not a Democrat. Everybody's not a Republican. I'm either Democrat or Republican. I vote for the candidate based on what the candidate is doing or has done and showed a track record that they will work for those interests that I'm concerned about for the people that I represent. For the people I represent. I'm not elected, but I do represent people. And one thing about the black preacher, we represent people.
Kemp said he's going knock on 100,000 doors in African American community. He's doing it, and Ralph Reed is doing it through a new evangelical. Talked about a little bit of that last week.
Right. Through the white Christian nationalists.
Well, yeah, he's not that.
Yeah.
He's not. That's not his organization.
Right.
But he is. He said they will knock on over 100,000 African American doors.
Well, he's not going to knock on them, though. Kemp won. It's just one thing. He's not going to knock on the door, period. You will not see the Kemp on East Point knocking on one door.
Don't be surprised.
You won't see him in Hayfield.
Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised.
Let me tell you something. If Kemp knocked on my door, you know what I'm gonna tell him.
Say hello, Governor.
No, I'm gonna say, what I'm gonna say, what took you so long to get here?
After you said hello, Governor.
No, I ain't gonna say hello, Governor. Now, look here, you might say that, but don't tell me what I'm gonna
You
say.
gonna say hello, Governor?
No, fathead, that ain't what I'm gonna say.
Wait a
I'm
minute.
gonna just say, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. I'm telling you.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You are a bishop.
That's right.
You're not gonna. Somebody gonna knock on your door. You're a bishop. You
Right.
preach Christianity.
Right.
You preach hospitality.
Right.
You preach being warm
And love, I preach
and
love.
being
and
warm to
everything.
your neighbor.
After that, and I believe
if
in
somebody
that.
strike you, you turn the other cheek. And if the
Well,
governor
I
ring
don't
your
know too
bell,
much about
well,
that.
that's in the Bible. You preach it.
Well,
So
you
the
ain't
governor-
you
so
ain't
the
telling your other
Well,
chicken,
no,
you're
no,
preaching.
don't you tell me what I'm doing. So the governor rings
No,
your
I know
bell,
what you
and you're not gonna say good morning, governor.
No, sir.
What you gonna say?
I'm gonna say, what took you so long? to
Brian
get here?
Kemp, I want you to come to East Point. I want you to come. You got his address.
You got my address.
You got
I'm
his
a voter.
address and his tax information.
Yeah, you got all of that.
Come visit Greg Fan
Yeah, come on.
and see what he said. And please bring your videographer.
Please.
We want to see exactly how that plays out.
Yeah, it's gonna play out just like I
When you and the
said.
troopers knock on the door.
When I'm gonna say, what took you so long to get here? That's what I'm gonna say. That's what I'm gonna say. Because one is, I'm being serious about this, but I'm being serious about this, is that we have people that have been elected in office, and the only time we see them is when they gotta run again.
On King Day.
On King Day. But, and that's how they're gonna be on TV and thousands of people are gonna be watching. But you don't see them because they don't care anything about people. That's why I like local politics so much, because those people, if you go to the grocery store, they're gonna be in the grocery store. Those people, you go to the restaurants, they're gonna be in the restaurant. They're gonna be where you are. So you're gonna see your local people. But those people, you don't see them. They don't take time to come in and have a conference or a meeting in a town hall meeting in a city like East Point or a city like College Park. They can even have a regional meeting in College Park, East Point, Hayfield, Union City, Fairmont, all the South Fulton cities. They can have a meeting that bring all of the cities into a meeting to talk about statewide issues at the governor. Why, Governor, is your budget doing this? Why are you doing this? Because they discount us. They discount us until it's time to vote.
Now, why do they discount?
They discount us because too many of us are not voting. Let's be truthful.
Yeah,
You just said it. You just said that.
1,000 black men.
They're not voting.
And you know, I said this a concerned black clergy in our meeting the other day. My brother, ran for state senator
Right.
of New York.
Right.
And he was running in an area in Brooklyn, and housing projects, and a part of that community. I mean, it's a mix. I mean, there's some projects he goes in there, and he's been working in those communities. Now, in these projects, it'd be 3,000 to 5,000 people
Right.
living in these projects. When you go downstairs, before you go out of the door, they put the precinct inside of the project apartments. Okay, the housing project apartments.
Right.
Okay, they put so you got to walk past it
The voting machine.
to go. I mean, it's right there. You walk past them, and it's no line.
Right.
And so my brother's telling brother, go vote, go vote. He said, man, I don't need to vote. Ain't doing nothing for me. You're in government housing. you on government food stamps, and you're saying that the government or the voting process doesn't do anything for you. You're third generation living in these projects. Grandmama lived in there, mama lived in there, now you're living in there. No line, 14 people in one area, 14 people voted out of 3,000. Collectively, out of, I think it was about 130 something votes out of about 7,000 or 8,000 votes in that area.
You know, now City Councilman Joe Crum said this at one of CBC's meeting. He says that if you want streetlights, the first thing they do is look to see how many people vote in that area. And when they see those people don't vote, then they look at somebody else in another area and they see them, they vote. They get street light, they get parks, they get this and they get that because they vote. But y'all ain't voting. So a few of y'all may be voting, but not nearly enough. They request the things that you're requesting or would like to see the community. So listen, the other day was National Voter Registration Day. I think the last day to register to vote is October 11th. Early voting starts, I think, 17th of October. So please, let's vote. Let's go out and vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for, Democrat or Republican, but I am telling you, get to know who you're voting for and get to know what they're going to do. And most of all, once they're elected, hold them accountable. Whether you voted for them or not, hold them accountable. Well, this ain't been nothing but straight talk with yours to the great friend, preacher man, and Shannon E. Jones. Well, don't forget now, Miss C done told you, like us, subscribe to us, and give us comments, and share our program. Until next week, we'll see you right here on this great program called what? Straight Talk!
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fan at FANN922 at Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shannon Jones and Greg Fan, the Preacher Man.